we will go ahead and get started. The assignment for today is up on the screen, CSS basics. The format for the assignments is going to be similar every day. You're basically going to make a clone of pre-existing websites that grow in complexity, right? So today will be one of the easiest ones you ever have to make. But let's take a look together, right? Is this the one? Yeah. Okay. So this is the one you're going to have to make today. Yeah. So looking at this website, if you had to create it, right, what would be some things that, some elements that we, just using our tools from yesterday, just HTML alone, what couldn't we accomplish, right? So Denise, what's one thing that we, like HTML alone, we wouldn't be able to do to build?
The color.
Yeah. So the black color, right? There's nothing in our toolkit from yesterday with just HTML for the color. Antonio, what else?
Red font.
Yeah, exactly right. Orange, but yeah, the orange color of the font. So we're going to learn CSS so we can expand our toolkit, right? And we can have more control over how our elements appear. So even more control over how our elements appear. But what does CSS even stand for? Paul, did you discover in your pre-work journeys? What does CSS stand for?
Cascading style sheets.
Yeah. And open to the class. Does anyone have an idea of why it's called that?
It adds some more color depth to the page.
It adds some what?
It adds some more colorful, makes the page looks more decent in terms of looks.
Yeah. That's CSS in general, but specifically the question is, why is it called cascading style sheets?
Oh,
Is it the last one or something takes precedent over the rest? Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's many competing styles that cascade down to each element. And the most specific is the winner. So just like HTML, I said yesterday was unique in that like you can make errors and fudge it up, and it's still, the browser will still do its best at interpreting it. The uniqueness with CSS is that you can have competing code. So you can have something that says make this H1 red and another thing that says make it blue, and they're both competing and there'll be a winner, which is kind of bizarre. But so these styles are cascading from different sources into the element. Yeah, and there's only one winner, right? Because it either can be red or blue. Okay, I guess that's where I want to start. I do want to show you the power of CSS though. Let's go to Amazon, right? And then I installed an extension today that disables CSS. So we still will have HTML, but no CSS, right? And then the question is this website still usable? So disabling all styles, and here's Amazon without CSS, right? It's not as bad as when it was just text. So we still have HTML. But like, is this usable? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Anyone have another site they want to check out? What was the last site you were on? Paul?
YouTube Free Code Camp was doing the last thing, but
Okay. So let's check out YouTube without any CSS. Where is it? Right here. And this is even worse, right? Well, so is it usable? Like if we needed to search for a video, free code camp, search. I don't know. Anyway, that's the power of CSS, right? It makes things way nicer looking. So this is going to be what you're building today, but we'll build something similar with each other. So what are we going to build together? We're going to build this. Yeah, nice and simple. Anyway, it's only day 2. So how do I just get a website going? Like, let's say my objective right now is I want to just say, hi, welcome to day 2 in a new website. How can I kind of just get that off the ground? ZO2? Help us out. Just getting some words up.
You're going to make in a folder, you're going to make a file, which is index.html.
Yeah, so that's a good place to start. In VS Code, I'm going to open a folder. I'm going to find where I like to put all my code. And I'm going to create a new folder called what? I'm going to call it day 2. You could call it Halloween if you wanted. Okay, I'm going to open that up. Awesome. What's my next step to just get a website going? Rowan?
We have to create an index.html file.
Yeah, how do I do that?
So you can click that little plus button next to day 2 and then just label it. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then, like some of you guys caught on to yesterday, instead of the manual work of typing this every time, this structure, the basic structure, we can use a shortcut. And what is that shortcut?
HTML.
Yeah, just type the word HTML and then choose 5. That's the version, the newest, fanciest version. And then you get this very nice boilerplate. And you can immediately jump into the body and start your business, right? So we said we wanted to say hi. So how can I say hi? Eston?
You can make an H1 and then just put hi in between.
I don't see anything yet. How can I run this with live server, this code, so I can see it?
First, save it, right? And
I did.
Then,
yeah.
Oh, okay. On the bottom of the screen, on the bottom of that, you'll see go live. And
Yep.
That should.
Yeah. You can do this, or you can right click and say open with live server. Both are totally fine. There we go. Our website, right? Okay, so how do I want to do this? I guess I'll do half the screen with what we're building and half with what we want to build. Any questions while I'm setting this up? All right. I guess let me expand this just a little bit. Okay. So down here is the goal, right? Up here is our current website. So what do you want to tackle first, Gina? What should we work on if our goal is to get the below website?
I would start with the title and then kind of get the general what the container is going to be and start setting that up.
Sure. So how can we get this text to appear all big and nice?
You can make an H1 tag.
Mm-hmm. And here I'm just going to this is actually text. So I'm going to copy that. Very nice. But now I want it to match down below. So we have some work to do, right? So this might be the first instance where we need to apply CSS. So the question becomes, how do we apply CSS? And there's a couple of different ways, but I'll turn it to you guys. What's some ways we can actually start using CSS? Any ideas? Sorry, was it Bemi was your nickname? Help me out with putting your nickname in Zoom.
Yeah, sorry, I changed it yesterday. Femi.
Femi, sorry about that. Femi, yeah.
That's okay.
Any ideas here? How do we actually we have this HTML website. How do we actually get started with CSS?
So you could do a couple things. One, you could apply a class.
Even before that, though, where do I write the CSS?
Sorry. You want to create a CSS file.
Yeah. So there's a couple of options. We could create a CSS external style sheet. That's one option.
Prior to that, sorry, you want to link it as well. So
that's one option, but I'm not going to do that option today. I'm going to keep it even simpler.
Gotcha.
So what's another option?
To style the page.
Yeah.
You can also do it in HTML if you want.
What do you mean in HTML? How or where do I do that?
So within the H1 tag. Yeah.
Yeah. So this version is called inline styling. Which we're also not going to use. What's another way we can style?
Could you do
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Could you, what was the term? Like you start it with the style tag?
Yeah, we can use a style tag, and that's what we're going to do today.
Okay.
Although you're not going to hardly ever do inline styling. You are going to use this the most often, but today I'm just going to show you style tag because it's so easy, right? So to use that, we just put a style tag, and now in here, magically, we can write our CSS. So CSS is a whole nother language, right? So it's already day 2, and we not only have HTML, now we have a whole nother language called CSS. Okay, so that's how we apply CSS. So now we said we want to target this H1 element so we can change the color. So now that we have the style tag, how do we use it to do that, to target that element? Parvinder?
In style, we will use the heading 1, and then we're gonna do the brackets and whatever style we need to do. Like in this, we use the color red, color colon red.
Yeah, but it's actually orange, but yep.
Oh.
Okay, so let's dissect this a bit, right? So, this is referred to as a CSS rule, the whole thing. And then this part right here, does anyone know the name for that? So this is all just nomenclature, but it's important.
Is it the selector?
Beautiful. Yeah, we have our selector, right? And there's different kinds of selectors. So this one is an element selector. Does anyone know some different other selectors?
Class and IDs.
Yeah, and those are the ones we are going to hit today. There's some other ones, but these are the basic ones. So the selector is how are you targeting the element you want to apply the style to, right? So that goes right here, the selector. Then we use the curly braces, and now we have this thing. And does anyone know the name for that? So we refer to this as CSS properties. So yeah, the property, and then we would say like, and its value. So that's for our good technical communication that's going to get us past a technical interview. This is the language you have to speak in. So most of the time people will just say like CSS properties, but technically this is a CSS rule. The H1 is the selector. Specifically, it's an element selector, but we're going to see class and ID selectors as well. And then you have the CSS property is color and the value is orange. All right. Questions on that? Okay. We still have more work to do. This doesn't look exactly like down below. So what other work do we have to do?
So it has to be italic.
It has to be italic. Yep. So how can we change that?
In inline, I use the EM tag, but right now I don't know, like in this style, how we use it. Maybe the weight.
Font style?
Font style? Yeah. So VS Code is your friend here, right? You start typing what you think it is, and you can see all the suggestions. So we go to font style, and then we see all the suggestions here, and we try italic. And that looks good, I think. Yeah. But what should we do before, maybe even before we started playing with this H1, what should we do?
You want to change the background?
Yeah, we want to change the background of the whole website. So how can we do that, Femi? Oh, there you
go. We can target the body.
Yeah, so this is going to be an example of another CSS rule. And this part is referred to as the selector. And this is an element selector. And then what property do we want?
Color.
Yep.
Background color.
Yeah. Background color. There we go. Oh, is this? Maybe this is red.
It's red.
Yeah, my bad.
I think it's orange red.
I think that looks pretty good. Okay, but it's not totally matching below. So what else do we have to do to this H1?
Center it.
Yeah, so another property we have is
Text align.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, center. And there we go. Close enough, right? It might be a little larger, but that's fine. We don't have to kill ourselves. Okay, this becomes way more interesting. How can we get a square to appear on our page? How can we get a square to appear? Open to the class because it's a little bit difficult. Yeah. Any ideas?
You can make a div and then color the background of the div.
Yeah. So let's do a div, right? So the div doesn't show up. So what do I have to do to this div?
Add an H2 in a paragraph, or add an H2 inside.
Yeah, we can add an H2, sure. And I'm going to copy, I guess, the text and put it in there. That's fine. Well, not really. It's not that fine. So we have way more work we need to do to the div. What's some more work we need to do?
For styling the div, we give ID to the div, and then we're going to style in the style tag.
Yeah, so here's the thing. We can add an attribute of ID or class. We have those two options. So ID versus class. When do we use which? Any ideas there?
I think an ID is for the single, if we want a single style, of a class if we want to style more than one with the same style.
Exactly. So are we going to have other divs that look exactly like this div? What do you guys think for this website? And because of that, should we use a class or an ID?
Class.
Class.
Yeah. So the next question becomes, what's a good name to call this class?
Div.
Div is not a great name.
Titles.
Movie div.
There, we're getting way better. Yeah, movie div is actually fine, but yeah, we could do movie div. Not opposed to that. So this is the naming convention is to use a hyphen, or sorry, a dash in CSS naming. So now that we have a class called movie div, how can we target this div in our CSS? Caesar? How can we target this div now that we gave it a class?
On the style, we write movie div.
Very close. You're missing one thing because it's a
The dot.
class. What was that?
Dot.
Yeah, so we have to use a dot when we want to target a class. Yep. And now, what should we change?
The background color.
Yeah, let's start there. So we'll do background color gray. Okay,
And the
maybe.
color.
Yeah.
Orange.
And the color we want orange. Yep.
The border.
Yep, very nice. Border,
1 pixel.
1 pixel. What do you think?
Orange.
Yeah, solid orange. Yep. That might be 2 pixels, huh? Yeah, very nice. Okay. Josephine, what else do you see that's different that we should change?
The size, the font size.
Maybe. Not really the size, more what?
Oh, the moving.
Oh, do you mean the size of the axe? Because then,
Right.
yeah. So let's actually do that. How can we increase just the size of the axe? Because it's
Use a
bigger.
span.
What's that?
We could use a span, put it in a span.
Yeah, so we're going to surround the axe emoji with a span and put it in there. And then how can we target this to make it bigger?
We could either give it another class, or I think you could do the div and then span after it to go for the span inside the movie div.
We could, but that's more complicated than I want to get today, just for the fundamentals. Yep. So what's a good name for this emoji axe?
Or icon.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and now, why did we give it a class and not an ID?
We use it in every box.
Yeah, we have a few emojis we're gonna make bigger. Yep. Okay, now that I have a class, how can I target the axe? Sorry. Eston?
You can put dot icon. And then would it be font size?
And yeah, so I think this is the first time we're using pixels. This is going to be our most standard unit of measurement when we're dealing with CSS. So that'll be kind of our go-to. There's many different measurements. Another one I use often is percentages. Hopefully we'll have a chance to see that as well. 50 looks pretty good though, right? Maybe a touch big. I don't know. Okay, who sees something else that doesn't look right? Antonio?
Needs to be centered.
Yeah, it needs to be centered. Any guess how we can do that?
Text align.
Yeah. What do we want to text align?
Center. The actual words, the shining.
Yeah. How do I target it? What selector do I use? So it's kind of the H2 I want to target, right? So how can I target it?
Start with H2.
Yeah, so we're going to use an element selector. That's fine.
You could just put it on the movie div, could you?
Oh, no. Or possibly. Let's come back to that. Let's do the H2 first and then come back to that. Okay, so somebody said text align, right? Let's see if it works. Thank God, because this gets very complicated without Flexbox. Okay, is everyone happy, or are there any perfectionists that see some? I mean, what's that?
The box is too long. And
Yeah, the box is too long. So, what do we want to do there?
Margin.
Yeah. So now we should talk about the box model of CSS, right? Box model CSS. So every element is represented as a box, and it has content, padding, margin, and a border. So looking at our H2, actually looking at our div, I guess, would be the best. We can see we made it a box, right? And the content inside is this. And then the amount of space between the content and the border is the padding. And then the amount of space between the border and other elements is the margin. And with CSS, we can control all of that. And let me show you that. So increasing the margin of the movie div. So we're basically saying make 20 pixels between you and any other element. And we can make this as much or as little as we want, right? But what if I want to increase the size between this content and the border? What other CSS property can I use?
Padding.
Yeah, so I can use padding to make this bigger. Yeah. And now it's starting to get a little off, but we're not going to be perfectionists until Flexbox because it just gets too complicated. Are you guys happy with that though, or does anyone see anything else they'd like to work on? I actually see one thing maybe we could do.
The text looks fatter at the top. Is it? I don't know if it has to do with the spacing or the font name.
Yeah, so how can we make the font weight more thin? What do we target and what property can we use?
You can do the movie div, target that.
Yeah, we probably can do the movie div. And what property were you thinking? So we're going to use one called font. Go ahead.
Font weight.
Yeah. So we're going to do font weight. And we can try whatever we want, but did that change? No. So maybe we shouldn't target the movie div, and instead we should target what?
H2.
So yeah, so that it's more specific. And there we go. Now it's taking effect. Yeah. Are you guys happy with that? It looks kind of good, huh? Okay. Let me pause there for questions. What questions are there so far?
I have a question. when you use the live, it's live sharing, right? The
Yep. Live server. Yep.
live server. How do you make it appear on the website itself? Like, do you have to press Command Save, or do you have to save it before it shows up, or does it do
Yes.
it automatically?
Yeah, you have
Okay.
to save it before it shows up. There is
Got
an
it. So you just use-
autosave option, but I actually recommend that you guys don't use that.
So just do it manually on the keyboard with the
Yeah,
shortcut.
get used to Control S Windows. So you got to just learn that shortcut, or Command S on Mac. So each line of code you write, you'll just you won't even think about it. You'll just do Control S right after. And Prettier will make sure it's correct, and then Live Server will update the code.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So let's work on this next. How can we get this text to show up? Denise?
We can do H3.
Sure. Yeah, we can do an H3, and I can copy this this text.
Yep.
Oh God. And it's not showing up, but what do I have to do?
I changed the color.
Yeah. So how can I target that H3?
Put in H3 in the style.
And then what property should I use?
Text color.
Yeah. So there's no text color, but there's color. Yeah.
That one.
And then color, it was orange, I think. Yeah. Okay. So are we happy with that? Yes or no, Paul?
I can't see the.
Sorry. There we go.
Needs to be smaller. And
Yeah.
maybe,
So how can we make it smaller?
Text size. I don't know, maybe 10. No, maybe 15.
Maybe.
And was it font? Is it font weight italic?
Font style. Italic. Okay. And then if we want to be nitpicky, what can we do also?
Font weight.
Yeah.
Maybe 200 or something.
Maybe, yeah. Ooh, I don't think that
Maybe
affected
100.
it. Huh.
No.
Why is that not working? No.
It's just 100. It's not pixel, is it?
What's that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, good catch. Good catch. That looks good.
See the one above.
Text align center.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. But also, I think we're going to need to do one. Actually, we don't want that. Yeah. Close, though. There is one thing we do want, though. What is that? It's a little off here.
Oh, margin?
Yeah. So it has a little bit of a margin. Actually, not as much as this div above it. I think that's pretty good. So now, once we do the first like set, the rest is really easy to do, because now we can just copy and paste the work we've already done and paste it twice more. And then just change the content, right? So here, hocus pocus. I copy this and I change it to a wizard. Yeah, and now look how good it looks without us doing any extra work. And then finally, Beetlejuice. Yep. And I think that's kind of good, right? So, any questions on that?
Well, I mean, I'm just being nitpicky, but we'd have to change the text, what it actually says below each box, right?
We'd actually have to change the text.
'Cause,
I did
like,
change the text, right? Oh, did I not? My bad.
Because they all say a
Yeah,
family.
yeah. Good catch, good catch. Yeah. So after 3 centuries, hocus pocus. Yep. All right. Any other questions, or anyone spot anything else to make a clone?
Can you remind me how to get the emoji on Windows?
Oh yeah. Somebody told me last cohort, a student. It's Windows dot, I think. And then you type in whatever you want. Mac, I would have to Google it.
You just type Windows dot directly within this, the VS Code.
I think it'll recognize this anywhere in Windows. Yeah. Yeah. Windows dot. Yep.
It's Command Control Space for emoji window in a Mac.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. I guess the only thing we didn't hit is ID. So instead of targeting this with an element selector, how can we instead use a ID selector? So what do we have to do to this H1? How can we, so yeah, I don't want to target it using an element selector. I want to use an ID instead. How can I do that? Cesar?
Just type ID and the
Yep.
name of the ID.
Yeah, what's a good name for this one?
Title.
Perfect. Yeah. And now, how can I target it here? The title.
Hashtag title.
Yeah. So that's going to be important, right? Just, it was weird when we had classes, we used dot. With IDs, we have to use hashtag. Okay. All right. We blazed through a lecture. It was really quick, but we covered everything we needed to. Any final questions?
Hello, sir.
I'm sorry?
Sir, is ID the most specific selector?
Yeah. So specificity, right, will win the day. And ID is better than class, is better than element. So if you have competing, like I want to make this color red versus color blue, if it's an ID, it'll win over if you're using a class. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one question.
Sure.
Actually, why our heading didn't work? Like the shining, it was in the div, right? So if I use the movie div and I just put the text align center or something, why it was not really working? Like,
Because the H2, okay, so the question is, we tried to kind of alter or apply styles to this H2 element by targeting this div, because it's the parent. The problem is the H2 has default styling, and because that default styling was more specific to the H2 than our CSS to this element here. So it was losing the specificity battle. So CSS gets so complicated so quickly, especially with stuff like that. But that's, I believe, the story of why it wasn't showing up for us.
okay.
Okay. Assignment is open. Yeah, let's get breakout rooms going. Create, add a room, options, allow participants. Okay.
Is our assignment to make what we just made?
No. Your assignment, let me turn on screen share again. So your assignment is going to be to make this one. So don't create the one we just did together because we already did that. This is going to be similar but different.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Rooms are open.